Hello, Pushpendra. Hello, Kumar. Very good afternoon. This is Arun. I'll be your Python trainer. Thank you so much for joining the session today. We'll wait for 2 more minutes and then we can continue. Thank you. Hello all. So again, thank you so much for joining today's session. This is Arun Kumar, and I'm going to be your Python trainer. Before we start the session, I would like to have a quick round of introduction about yourself. Whoever is there, so Kumar, Satak, Pushpendra. If you can introduce yourself, I would like to know your introduction, probably educational background, um, your interest to learn Python, and probably what are you aiming for after you learn this course. So if you can just give me a brief understanding, that will be helpful.
Well, I worked in a manufacturing company and I'm planning to shift to IT related job. I have completed my BTech in engineering. Now I'm just looking for a better course where I can just get into this IT profession. Thanks.
Great. Sounds great. How many years of experience you have, Kumar?
I'm almost now my age is 46.
Okay, so I got it. Senior level.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, no problem. Thanks for the introduction. Sarthak, can you introduce yourself? Could you please?
Sure, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Very good
I'm a
afternoon.
student. I'm student of BCom, studying in Keshav Memorial College. I have completed my first year in BCom right now. Currently, I'm studying second year. The thing is that I find this very helpful. Many people have suggested me to learn Python, and it also is very helpful while getting jobs. I have heard that, and in under technical skill, I guess we can write this uh, that I have done my Python course. Yeah, sir, and hoping to be helpful in my career, be helpful at my job, at my workplace by learning this Python course from you, sir. That's all, sir.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Sarthak. Who's going to go next? As Pushpendra, could you please go next? I think you are on mute. We are not able to hear you. Okay. Samina Farhat, could you introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Samina here.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. I'm doing right now in VBA.
Okay.
Okay. So do I need to give what all courses I have learned or just a normal introduction?
You can just give a introduction about yourself. That will be fine. Why do you want to learn Python?
Okay. Basically, the concept, what we work with the Python, I don't know, just to understand how we can use this because this is an advanced technology what we have in all the offices right now. And recently I'm from a non-technical background. I'm a BCom graduate
Okay.
from finance, yes. So I want to move totally in a software side because I got the opportunity through ICP to get into it in that particular department. And in the last 2 weeks, I'm working in that department for the automation. So from this institute, I learned the advanced Excel formulas because I know only a basic Excel. That's the reason I came here and I learned advanced Excel as well as a VBA. So just to understand whether, because in my team right now, different departments is there. Some people will work for SQL, some people will work for Python, and some is as VBA. Right now I'm working with the VBA. So just to understand that if I add on in my career for this, so whether it will be work for me or not, just to understand how it will work, I joined this demo session.
Sounds good. So you're working for an organization. How long has it been, Samina?
It's an 14 plus of experience I have.
14 years plus of experience.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for introduction. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Aditya, could you please introduce yourself? If you're talking, I think we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Hey, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Aditya. Please. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Aditya. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. So I'm
Great.
currently working in Barclays as a product controller.
Okay.
I just want to learn Python so we can actually apply it in the finance sector as well. So that's why.
Sure. Great. So, thank you so much, everyone, for that introduction. The reason why I asked for a quick introduction is because so that while during this demo, this is actually the demo not for the language, but per se the demo how you are going to use this language inside your careers, inside your resumes, etc. So that if you are working professional, we would want to we would like to know how is this language going to add on to your current profile, right? So if you are fresher, where to start? So for getting that understanding, that's the reason I asked you your introductions. That was great. Perfect. So with that introduction, so let me introduce myself. I am a data scientist and an analytical consultant. So I'm working for an MNC right now, and I'm having a good amount of experience in machine learning, artificial intelligence, business intelligence, and data analytics. Right, and we've been training individuals in the area for business intelligence, machine learning, and data science for a good amount of time. Right, so primarily when we say Python, it's not only yeah, I mean, you might have known it's when we talk about Python, it's not fundamentally confined to any particular domain. When somebody's talking about web development, somebody is talking about um uh, you know machine learning, somebody is talking about data analysis, somebody is talking about application development. Everywhere you hear the buzzword Python, right? So today we are going to see why the language itself is so popular, and why is this language has become a buzzword, and we will see what path we will take towards our learning journey. More than anything, more than just the training sessions that we are going to have here in Excelytics, in regards to Python, my experience with Python, and because uh, I was involved in building a lot of machine learning algorithms, machine learning models, or per se data analytical systems by using this language and being very familiar with the language. More than just giving you a conditioned training, a systematic academic training, I would like to also emphasis on the experience part of it, right? So if I can give you my experience, my inside as to, okay, we are learning a topic in Python. If I also give you an understanding as to how I used Python, how my organizations used Python, all the respective organizations that I have worked for used Python to accomplish this particular function or concept, that will add up for your understanding, right? So other than this general conceptual understanding about a function, about a language, if you have an understanding about how this concept is used in real time, right, then probably that becomes very interesting, and that can be a very hook for your understanding, right? So we are going to discuss these things going forward in the session, and probably when we are completely starting our sessions, right? So it's going to be an interactive session, obviously. So it's going to be a lot of to and fro. It's not going to be a one side conversation, because since there will be definitely a certain amount of limit to the people who are sitting in the sessions, right? So it's not some 50, 100 people who are listening to the class, etc. No, it's going to be a very small batch. So when it's a small batch, we will take it forward like a mentorship session or a guidance session, wherein I can address probably every doubt you have, right? So it was a big team, big batch, etc. It would have been very, it would not have been feasible. But since the batches that we handle are very small, it gives us a lot of room for addressing questions or probably doubts, right? So the training is going to be, it's not going to be a traditional training, right? It's going to be something like a mentorship sessions, and I'm going to explain you everything from scratch, right? The concept, the the application, the examples, and then you will have some, right? So it's going to be in that fashion. So I'm excited to leverage all these things, right? My experience and the knowledge that I have on the language for you to go for it. So in this demo session, we are going to see these things very elaborately, and also by the end, you will have an overall understanding about programming or per se Python in general. You will know why is Python so popular. You will know the fundamental nature of Python. What will be your learning? What will be your learning path? What is my expectation? So far and so forth. Okay, great. So first question, when we before we address Python in general, so let's understand what is programming. I think it might be a very niche question to ask the batch, but if I may, if I ask this question to myself, because if I'm learning Python, I'm learning a programming language. What is Python? What is a programming language fundamentally? It is very simple, right? If I go by the textbook definition of a programming language, it says that programming is nothing but a technological process for telling a computer which tasks to perform in order to solve problems. So in programming, you are not having a tool like you say an Excel, or else you don't have a tool like Power BI, SAP, etc. All you have is a screen, and then you write few sentences with fancy letters, symbols, etc., and tell the computer, you are talking to the computer as to do this. For example, if you want to add two numbers, what would you do? If you were an Excel, you would just say is equal to A1 plus B1, and then you would get the result, right? That is because everything that you are writing is hosted on an application. But here, if you are programming, you should you should be aware that the fact that a plus means a sum, right, is should be understandable to the computer, that what you are actually, it will go to that level. You have to define what plus is. So it's all high level language. The Python is a high level language, but initially when you work on very low level languages such as C, etc., you should tell the computer what plus is. You should define the computer. If you say 4 plus 5, you should tell beforehand to the computer that 4 means an integer, 5 means an integer. So these two are integers. So whatever operations that I am performing, make sure these operations are in line with the operations that we perform for numbers, right? So at that level, you do programming. So it is a systematic process. It is a systematic process. And the nature is you are talking to the machine, you're talking to the computer. To by the end of the day, what are we doing? We are solving problems. You have your website. You have Uber, right? The moment you select that the moment you want to book a cab, book an auto, book a bike, you just go there and select that particular option. What does it do? Just rewind and think about what happens in that millisecond. It will immediately say, please wait, finding the cabs nearby. What it will do, and then it will find a nearby cab and it will assign that cab to you. Then you will be shown a map. On that map, you will find the cab that has been assigned to you traveling towards you. It will also tell you in how much time that cab will reach you. Interesting, beautiful, no? Just with the click of an option, within almost less than a minute, probably let's imagine the optimal situation where we get the cab immediately. You're clicking an option, the computer is taking the command. It is basically what happens in that millisecond, that the computer scans a program runs to identify a driver who is within your proximity, within your area or around your area maybe. And then once the program identifies that, okay, this person is there, the program will send a request to the driver, hey, saying this customer, I mean, if you just find a Uber, the person who's driving Uber in this mobile phone, a pop-up will appear saying that hey, a request is coming. So the program sends a request to the driver. He say, in your location there is a trip, and this is the cost of the trip, and this is the distance of the trip. And then the person clicks accept. You will get a prompt that, hey, this person has accepted. So that person has accepted, you get a message, and then there is a program runs to create a map. It will show you the car or the bike, and then it will show you the map, the path in which the car is approaching your destination. What is this? Pure programming in action, guys. Pure programming. This is what I mean when I'm telling solving problems or telling the computer what task to perform. It might be as simple task as opening a folder, but I'm not going to. Let's look forward. Imagine Amazon when you're booking an order. The moment you click on an order to purchase something, in below the order description, you will find get it by today or get it by tomorrow. How does that work? There is a program that is continuously running, which will tell you in which inventory, which product is available, and which transportation system is in place for you to get that product in that stipulated time. It should check if that inventory has that product. It should check if the transportation is present. It should check that distance in which the transportation will be able to deliver it to you. So it's Amazon has an amazing supply chain management, right? So nobody can deny in the technical domain that the technical expertise of Amazon, it's pure programming. It's not a it's of course it is of course a marvel of a supply chain management, but also think about the algorithm that has been written by the software engineers that is doing this thing in a click of a second. And then the person where the order is sitting, that person is notified, hey, from your warehouse, this order has been booked. Imagine there are 10 vans standing in front of the warehouse sorting. Amazon has robotics which will tell you, go to this rack, pick up this order and put it in this tempo cargo service, whatever. How does it happen? This happens with programming, right? As humans, we know walking is moving forward, walking front is moving forward, walking back is moving back, sleeping is closing our eyes and sleeping, lifting something, lifting. But how do computers know if we want to teach them something new? That's done by programming, right? Think about that level. So whenever we are learning Python, whenever during the classes, especially my classes, we will look into these real world examples. I've experienced working in Amazon, right? So I had a short stint there. FYI, right? So what are the popular programming languages? Well, we know a very good clear understanding about what programming is. Got an interesting insight about what programming is. Let's see what's the programming. What are the different types of programming languages that we have in the market? So you have PHP. The second one is the Python. The third one is HTML5, Java, C++, R, and Swift. I think you are all familiar with all the programming languages that I'm showing here. I think the less familiar would be R. R is a statistical programming tool, mostly used by statisticians and data scientists. So it's an amazing tool. And you have PHP. PHP is a programming language that is used to program backend servers. You have our websites, for example, you have a website for Flipkart, and these websites in the backend. So in the front, you have HTML, you have CSS, you have JavaScript in the front end. When you click on flipkart.com, www.flipkart.com, you get the beautiful page, right? All the objects are there, all the orders are there. In the backend, there is a server which is pushing information to the website. And that server, when I say server, what is a server? Server is nothing but a virtual computer. So that server is basically programmed by PHP. It can be programmed by Python, it can be programmed by Java, other languages. So PHP is a backend programming language. So Python, again, it's a center of our discussions today, and HTML is basically a markup language. Right? It basically is the industry expert in handling content, web content. And you have Java. So Java is also a very popular programming language, very powerful, very popular. And then you have C++. R, I have told you. And then the last icon that you are seeing towards your right, that's might not be that familiar also to the audience. And this programming language is called Swift. So Swift is a programming language exclusively used for building iOS applications. If you want to build an application on an iPhone, a MacBook, or an iPad, that has to be programmed in Swift. Right. So those are the popular programming languages. But fine. But why Python again? The question comes. So why Python is a buzzword? Every programming language, and with caution, I would like to say that no programming language is better or no programming language is lesser than it. So every programming language has its advantages, has its limitations. Depending on the business requirement, depending on what we are building, the preferences change. It's just about what are we trying to accomplish. So if you are trying to build a website, you would choose one programming language. If you are building a backend server, you're choosing one programming language. So every programming language that I have listed is a master. But again, why Python? The reason being, let's ignore the first line. Let's ignore the first point. Come to the second one. Simple syntax, right? Towards your right, I've just, attached a small snippet of the Python code. That's, print, hello, I am Python. That's all. So all you would need is one line of code to print when I say print, simply means to display, right? So print is nothing but displaying something. So when I say print, hello, quotation, hello, comma, I am Python, exclamation and quotation simple, right? So you have quote unquote, you have written a sentence inside, and then you are encapsulating that. I mean, wrapping that something in the print state. That's all you would need to display a hello statement. You would not initiate any variable. You would not initiate any module, any preprocessor, nothing. Just open the Python notebook, then write that. You will be able to. What I'm trying to tell, compared to this, all comparison, right? So compared to any other programming language that is there out there in the market, Python has simple syntax. The syntax is very simple, right? Let's hold off for the third point. Let's come back to the fourth. So when I say the syntax is simple, the design of Python is such that the designers wanted to keep the syntax simple, right? We are not compromising on any features, functionalities, etc. So the activities that you can accomplish by any other programming language in 3 sentences, you can do that with a single sentence in Python. Right? Therefore, you have fewer lines of code. You have fewer lines of code. So now come to the first sentence. So if there is simple syntax, fewer lines of code, it is well suited for beginners to learn. Because most of us, even I was, you have a phobia when you listen about when you think about programming, right? Oh, is it doable? Can I do it? Is it possible? It is very simple. It is nothing. It is simple like any other tool. If you can learn Excel, you can learn Python also. So because Python removes some fear from us because of its simple nature and fewer lines of code. When the lines of code are fewer, it becomes readable. You will be able to understand what is going on, right? So that is the reason it is well suited for beginners. For if you want to get into the domain of programming, if you know Python, then probably you will. It's good. And again, just one important thing I wanted to mention here. So when I'm talking about programming, so when I've started the slide, I showed you I did not talk about Python in first. I spoke about programming. So programming by far is a concept, guys. Okay, it's like a universal language, and then you have languages separately. Example, you have Hindi, or well suited for Telugu, I would say. So you have Telugu here in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Think of that Telugu as a programming concept, a concept of programming. And you take the Telugu spoken by people from Karimnagar, West Godavari, Telangana, Hyderabad, Mahbubabad, Adilabad. So all these places. So you can see the way these people are speaking Telugu is different across. Right? It might be really tough for you to understand a Telugu, a person coming from Hyderabad to understand a Telugu that a person from Krishna is talking. The flow will be different, the slang is different, but the fundamentals are same. The words more or less would be same. So here, so programming, when you say, so once you learn any one programming language, you would be most probably familiar with most of the concepts of programming. So that is the reason. If a person learns one programming language, it is very easy for him to learn any programming languages automatically. So because conceptual knowledge is important. Just I'll give you an example. You are seeing print. Hello, I am Python there. So this is how you write print in Python. Now immediately if somebody is giving you Java and asks you to print something, the first question you'll ask, how do I print something in Java? Show me. Because now printing is the word print is existing in Java, and the functionality what printing does is shows us some output, basically throws some output to us. Example, you sum something in Excel, you sum the same thing in SQL, you sum the same thing in Tableau or whatever tool is a sum, right? Sum does not change. So there are few concepts in programming language, in programming by general, that are universal across all the languages. And the language that we learn will have few changes. I would say that's the slang of the language. You can think of that as a slang, right? Yeah. So that brings us to the third point. So object oriented. So there's a beautiful concept about programming that is called object orientation, right? Object oriented programming language. OOPS. So this is also an object, like Python is also an object-oriented programming language. So object-oriented programming is a concept in programming, and then Python also supports object-oriented programming. We will see what object-oriented programming is basically, right? So that closes the 4 points. Let's come back to the fifth point, most important. So in programming, right, so we spoke about dealing with complex activities in programming, right? So there might be a lot of activities in programming in general that might be repetitive. For example, as simple as if I give you a list of 10 numbers for programming, if I want to get the maximum number, a highest number inside that list, what would we do in Excel? You would say is equal to max. You give that numbers, you give the list of those numbers, and Excel will tell you among these numbers, this is the maximum. But what is happening in the backend? There is a code that is written for the max function and which is going to each and every element, and then it is comparing one A is A greater than less than B greater than less than something like that. A small code runs and then Excel gives us. So is it native? No, it's not native. It native as to, is it that they're everywhere? So finding maximum number, no, it's program. So even in Excel, a program has to run to get us an output. But finding a maximum number in a given list is a fundamental operation, right? Sorting, I say. So in Excel, when if you want to go up and sort A is to B, A to Z, Z to A, it happens at a click of a button. I would not, because these are very common operations, right? These are very common operations, and I would not really be so a big fan to perform this. For example, if you want to find a highest number in a given list of numbers, you can write a Python code for it. Fine, you can write a Python code for it. Because Python is all about coding everything from scratch. You should write a Python code for it. But do I need to write a code every time for a common operation? Common operation as this? Not needed. Okay. There we talk about modules, right? Or libraries. What is a library? Library are predefined functions, classes, methods, or you can say functionalities, which come with any programming language that helps us achieve few things without programming. So all this, for example, summing up a function, summing up, you have 10 values, you have say 100 values, and you want to add all of them. You want to add all of the numbers and give me an output. You can write a Python code for it. But doing a simple operation, I should not spend so much of time, a repetitive task to write it. Right? So I can make a function and then I can make sure I can use it everywhere. So in Excel, you have sum, sum, and then, right? So it's a function. So in that fashion, for achieving a lot of things, for example, you are doing a web development, you are doing web development. You want to do an API call. So API call is very, very basic in development, right? API call is requesting something from a web page in programming terminology. So that is a very common operation, and I would not spend a lot of time to write a code to do an API call. There should be something ready for me to something like for example, if we want to fix something in our home, do we really manufacture a screwdriver? No, we can buy a screwdriver, right? So with that screwdriver, you can do anything by your own. So when the technology is always already ready, we would not go and manufacture it, right? So modules are packets of functionalities at our disposal to achieve certain tasks. And quotation, Python has amazing libraries, right? When I say libraries, I'm referring to modules, etc. So Python has amazing libraries that can give a wide range of functionalities across lot of domains. You can see Python it's a wide range of libraries for machine learning, web scraping, data analytics, graphical user interface, and deep learning. So many libraries, right? So you need not worry about coding these things by yourself, right? So the code is already there. You need to import this code, and you can think of how do I implement this code more of. You are given the tool. Now it's about to you how you are implementing. You are not worrying about writing those basic things again and again. No? Fine. So various fields that use Python again. So again, I said when I say various fields, it means that the libraries that Python supports. The fundamental remains the same, guys. The foundation of the programming language remains the same. It is on top of it how you are going to use it, use the different libraries and how you are accomplishing certain tasks. So Python is used for data analytics, very famous for data analytics. It is used for artificial intelligence. It is used for application development and automation. Right? So the libraries I was talking about, I will give you a very quick introduction about what these libraries. So libraries are again small companies that provide these functionalities, and then we can use that inside our Python language. So we have pandas. So amazing library. So this all the data analytics work that we are going to do in Python, we will use pandas for that. Now, if I give you a real world example, how do I view an Excel workbook or an Excel sheet inside Python? If I want to do some analysis on the Excel data that I have, it's stored in my machine. How do I do it inside Python? Of course, you can write a very complex code for it, but don't worry about that code. Use pandas. It will give you the functionality how to get that data inside your Python code. And then afterwards, you can do whatever analysis that you want to do. All right. So pandas is that. And you see a matplotlib that's called matplotlib. So you have a plot inside it should, and that plot has probably a diagram of a graphical. It shows something visually. So it's a library that is used to visualize data inside Python. When we are doing data analysis, it is very imperative for us to identify the pattern inside the data and do visual representation. We need visualization of the data, right? If you want to see the distribution, if you are having a data set about the students in a school and then probably their scores, you would like to see the distribution. What is the average marks that a student has scored? What is the distribution of that number? Right. So you need a visual, right? You will get a lot of information with going by non-visual approach, but again, along with visual, it makes it easy. It gives it's a very amazing representation of data. Able to visualize it. And then you have Seaborn. Seaborn is also you can say an addition to Matplotlib. So it's also a visualization library. It has more functionalities than Matplotlib. And then towards the right, it's NumPy. It is not much used in data analytics, but rather used in data science. So it's called numerical Python. And you have numerical Python, and then you see the small boxes, and that represents an matrix, a mathematical object matrix. So when we are dealing with arrays, matrices, matrix addition, matrix multiplication, dot products of matrices, etc., we will build those matrices on NumPy, numerical Python. Right. So not much, but we can use this for doing few activities. But yeah, so it's also one of the important tools referred when we talk about data analytics using Python. See a very quick introduction about these libraries that we are going to use. So just don't, this is right away from the Python pandas website. So I told you these like packages are given by individual different companies. So I've just mentioned the source at the bottom. That's a source. You can just go and grab the website. So when I say a library that deals with data, the example I have given you that imagine we want to view our Excel data on Python. How do you view it? Pandas has the answer. And also, is that all? No. What all do we do with our tables? Now, the first point that you're seeing over there, it's efficient data frame object. Now, data frame is nothing but a table. A table is called a data frame in Pandas or Python. So you just no need to go through all of the sentences, but if you go for the third, fourth, fifth one, you say intelligent label based slicing and subsetting of large data. Now, what is slicing? Slicing is nothing but indexing. So if you are looking for, if there are 1,000 rows inside the data, you would like to have only rows between 10 and 20. You can do that. That's called slicing. And fancy indexing, you can generate indexes and subsetting, meaning you can sample some data from the existing data and then you can do subsets. And also, what is the most common function that we use while we are dealing with large chunks of data? Pivoting, right? So that is achieved by the next point, right? So aggregating or transforming data with a powerful group by engine. So grouping by is nothing but pivoting. So pivoting is also possible in pandas with pandas. And then you have merge and joining. What is merge and joining? Simple. Merging is a synonym for VLOOKUP, looking up values from another table, and then joining is nothing but HLOOKUP, horizontally joining something and vertically joining something, right? And then it's an amazing tool for time series analysis, highly optimized performance. So that's about pandas. Let's talk about NumPy. Again, it is very popularly used for numerical analysis, right? So it supports a wide range of functionalities, etc. So an array is a matrix, guys. So we have learned in schools, right? So thanks to teachers, we do not look at the full potential of matrices, etc. So everything is a matrix, right? Everything is a matrix. I would say the data that is stored about us is also in the form of a matrix. So every data that is stored in the machine is stored in the form of a matrix. And if you want to do some analysis on the data, you are basically doing matrix analysis, right? So this is about NumPy and Matplotlib. So beautiful, right? So you can get amazing visualization. So these visualizations are might not be similar to the visualizations that we see in any other tools, because these programming languages are used for scientific purposes, right? Sensor imagery, geospatial, rocket science, clinical science, etc., predictions, etc., sampling, vaccine development, etc. So for all these users, these programming languages are used. Data science. It supposed Python supports good statistic libraries as well. So in statistics, it's all about sampling, resampling, regrouping populations, etc. Right. So you have to have a visualization tool that supports these things. So the visualizations that we have at our disposal in Python/Matplotlib are catered to that purposes. This is Seaborn. See, these are the different visualizations that we have with Seaborn. So on the left hand side, just for curiosity, on the left hand side, you have a scatter plot. So it just scatter plot. Also, it's clustered. You're seeing three different colors: a green, orange, and blue. So it is basically it has clustered the points that are similar in nature. Maybe a cluster analysis have been performed on that, and then the computer has identified that these clusters that are in the same colors are more or less similar to each other in whatever variables the user has given. That's a scatter plot. Imagine customer segmentation. Do you get all sorts of discounts that our neighbor gets? No. The discounts that you get might be somewhat different. The suggestions that your neighbor might get from somewhat different. How do you get it? So basis on our shopping trend, a machine learning engine will define which discount should I roll it to you, or which trigger, which message should I roll it to you, which notification will should I roll it to you for. That's called customer segmentation. So basis that we use all these things. Then you have a line plot. And then here is also a bubble chart. Then you have line plots, and then that's a box plot. And then towards the end, you have a regression analysis. So these are the levels of analysis or visualizations that we do using CMON, Python, etc. Of course, important, right? So what are the top companies using Python? Almost every company. I've just chosen the biggest names here. Netflix, Amazon, Google, Spotify, Pinterest, and Uber. Right. Now, since we have seen the fundamentals of Python, since we have understood the fundamental of Python, probably from an introduction standpoint, let's see what is the expectation from us, from me, especially as a trainer. Right. I told you it's going to be a practical approach. No boring presentations, no boring PowerPoint presentations. Right. So it's going to be right away coding. The problems are going to be interesting, real world problems. Basically, you can relate to all these problems in your real life also. So once you start to relate, you will try to solve it. You will try to understand it, and you will try to solve it. And then the approach is going to be basic to advanced. So don't worry about if you are having a bit of fear about programming, or probably you want to um, you just have started off and you have no knowledge about any programming language. Completely fine, right? We are going to go everything from scratch. Right? And then I will pose you a lot of assignments as well. So you can complete these assignments, send it back to me, and then I will review. Probably if the problem that you have solved, or probably the doubt you have raised can help people in the audience in their wider interest, we can discuss that in a class. If not, I'll try to get a one-on-one session with you, and then we can solve it. And then you have coding challenges, right? So we have to learn coding we have to learn Python programming like we are playing a game, right? So we will follow that approach as well whenever we have time. So we'll have some challenges to ourselves and see if we are able to achieve these things, etc. So right hand side, you're seeing a Python code, right? An image. So towards the end of the class, or probably 75 per 60% inside into the class, you will be able to understand what is there, right? So you will be able to understand what is going on in there. Okay. You will be able to read it. Now that looks different because of the colors and the indentation, etc. And then the final one, mentorship, as I told you in the beginning. So let's take this as a mentorship session and probably a one-on-one sessions for everybody, because the batch size is small. It does not matter. I mean, if it we are only small audience, so if one person is not also catching up, so we'll take some time and make sure that the person is catching up to the things, right? So you can reach out to me regarding not only Python per se, anything related to domain of data analytics, machine learning, etc. If you're having any confusions, I'm very happy to solve. Very happy to guide you through it. So we are going to, these are a few development tools that we are going to use. So one is from Google Collaboratory. So all this thing is very free, very easy to install, etc. Need not worry about it. So just with a single click of a button, you can probably start using them, start practicing them. So these are just tools that we are going to use. Google Collaboratory VSC, we call it Visual Studio Code. Then towards the extreme right, you have Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so these are the developmental tools. Very important one, no? So what are the prerequisites to learn Python? What are the things that we need to know to learn Python? What do I have to have if I want to learn Python? So the list is very simple. All you would need to have is you have to give the subject some time, and then it's programming. So you have to have a lot of curiosity as to how you want to solve the problem, etc. And then that curiosity should come from the passion, and then it's patience. So why I'm telling patience? Because to understand any new language, or per se to be familiar to a subject, to a new subject, it takes time. So before you jump into the conclusions that this is not going to happen or it's hard, it's all about perception. So have some bit of patience, give it some time with curiosity. Everything will be fine. You will be able to master it. Not to worry. Finally, that's all from my side. Any questions from anyone of you?
So, sir, small question about you only,
Right.
just to understand that if I have to be there in your place, from where I should start, what all needs to be done, and what practice you did so that you are standing right now in this position as a programmer. What all needs to be done?
Very good. Very good
Time and
question.
practice is different. It depends on the person to person, but what need to be covered?
The first part you mentioned, that the time and practice is different from person to person. It is, of course, it is going to be different from person to person. But again, the emphasis on it has to be a lot. Because when I started off learning Python, trust me, in the initial days, I thought I would not become, Python is not my cup. Trust me. I thought that Python is not my cup because I was not a patient. Right? I was not patient enough. I wanted quick results. I wanted, no, I want to learn something. So we get into this loop, right? It's where people say you can learn Python in 15 days, Python in 13 days, etc. So I was thinking maybe this language is not for me. Maybe I can't figure out this language. I was in that perception. But trust me, it's not the case. So we have to thoroughly understand the concept, right? So the question to answer first, I I did not jump into the language first up directly. I'm not I was not concerned about how to write a code, how to do something, where to put a comma, where to put a semicolon. No. Understand the concept that we are achieving. Understand the concept. I've got a fundamental understanding about the concept of what we are trying to achieve first. A question to us first. What am I trying to achieve? So write it down. Okay, I want to do this sort of operation like this. What are the different steps I need to follow? Explain it to yourself in your own language. I want to do this. I want to do this first, and then that has to go here. It has to go here, and then this is the output that I want. Explain it to yourself. And then comes your knowledge in programming. In programming, in Python, I am doing this. I have to use this particular keyword and I have to use this symbol to achieve this, etc. So it's a combination of conceptual understanding. It's a combination of being patient a lot, able to relate things. And then, of course, the syllabus is always there. I have a list of things that I will teach you with me. So if I give it to you, it is there. It's there. It's static. It's universal across everywhere. So even if you go any online coaching, any college, any academic session, these are the things that will be covered. You should be able to think with curiosity as to how will I apply this. So there, even my mentors taught me that think in terms of application, how these things will be applied, right? How these things will be applied. how will I able to think in that algorithmic way? So if you start to think in that angle, then it will get easy for you. I think I have cleared your doubt, right?
Yes, sir. Almost it was cleared. But one concern from my end, if I take my example, as I mentioned before, I'm not from a technical background, or I don't know about a C language, programming language, anything, like a zero. Okay, right now I have started learning it. So if you take my example, I came into automation. Because why I came to automation? Because we want to reduce the work, repetitive work, so that it will be a benefited to the organization. Okay, so I took one step to learn a VBA and apply for the automation team or a robot team, whatever it may be. So if you take my example, can you suggest me what is the next step? Because Python, as I seen, it was a very advanced programming. Okay, so will I able to understand this? Because obviously, if we give a time and everything, we will understand. But is it a right choice to choose at this moment? Because only one programming thing I know, not the SQL or the other thing. So what step I need to take it right now? Just a
Uh,
suggestion from your end, sir.
Being a programmer, I can give you one suggestion, straightforward, is that always learn, always have a grip on one programming language in your resume, right? More of if you are
Yes.
aspiring to get into IT. I'll tell you the reason, not because Python. Now, what Python does, what programming does to your brain is important. It it squeezes, stretches your brain to solve problems, and in that process, the way you think will increase 1,000 times. So when you look at a problem, you will think of 1,000 possibilities as to how this problem can be solved. That thinking a programming language will do to your brain, right? So if you are, if you are doing something in VBA for say 20 minutes to achieve something with the power of a programming language. I mean, when I say programming language, it means how you think will change, right? How you think or how your approach towards solving a problem is will change. Maybe you can
Ex-
achieve the same with 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Now, keep that. Also,
Okay.
second thing, sir, how do I understand this advanced concept? So, every advanced concept comes from a basic understanding. Simple. If you if you don't know the basics of Excel, say is equal to VLOOKUP or is equal to sum, how will you understand VBA? What will you know about VBA? If you don't know what is cell reference, you don't know what is dot select all. If you don't know what is cell references referencing in Excel, how will you know VBA? VBA will you will feel VBA is Greek and Latin. But how did you understand VBA today? Because you understood VBA because you understood the basics first. So
Exactly.
nothing is advanced. It is a combination of basics, right? So if you are having your basics right, it is about learning. Just just if you are reading a book today, if you are reading a book, just read the book. And then if you don't know English language, you will think English, this book is very advanced English. But if you know English language, will you tell the book is advanced? No, that's English language. So because we don't know the functionalities, because we don't know the language, because we don't know the flow, we think something is advanced, but it is not. Of course, there will be for any subject. If you are taking VBA only, if you are taking VBA or Power BI, whatever, there will be few advanced concepts. There will be few simple concepts. The simple concepts. Now, why do we say advanced concepts are not straightforward? Simple concepts are straightforward, right? So the approach that we will follow while learning for advanced will be different for you to understand it. Similarly, it does not mean advanced is not doable, is impossible. It is possible, but the approach that we follow to solve this advanced concepts will be different, right? So again, so any advanced thing is a basic. Right? Any advanced thing is a basic. If you have a proper grip on the basics, right, which we are going to see, which if we have a proper grip on the basics, then advanced will become just a mere implementation only, right? So learning a programming language, it's always useful. Trust me, it will help you every time, right? In terms of your, as a person also, you will grow, right? You spend a lot of time on something, your learning curve will increase. That will anyway. And that will add a lot of value to your resume, that you learn a programming, that you have a programming idea, right? And
Yes,
also,
sir.
and also, who is stopping us to not explore other areas? So once you learn Python programming language, trust me, it will take around 2.5 to 3 months, or 3.5 to 4 months, depending upon your understanding about subjects. For everyone, I'm telling you, if you once you complete Python, immediately the next step, you know what you will do. So you will reach out to Excelytics or someone from you will Google search how to learn something else. So you will not stop with one programming language. So once you learn something, you will automatically garner that interest to start learning other things as well. Maybe you learn SQL, maybe you learn Power BI next. So that learning curve should always be top in the top direction, not in the bottom direction, right? So keep your fingers crossed, give things the time, and then be prepared for the journey. And trust me, it's going to be useful. Okay, of course, it is once you learn it, it is up to us as to how we are marketing ourselves, right? How we are, how we are leveraging these concepts that you have learned. For example, you have you are having Python, you are inside your office, and then you are doing VBA scripting, etc. That's fine. Tomorrow someone walks into your office and they say, hey, the leadership comes, hey, we would like to have a team who does automation on Python. Who will be your first pick? You will be the pick, because you know Python, right? So having an advanced knowledge is always a useful thing. Always learning is good. I'm a lifelong learner. Though I teach, though I train, I'm a lifelong learner. I learn everything every day. So that keeps me moving forward. So that gives interest to life, right? So that's important. I think I have, though you have requested a short answer, I have given a very long answer. I think that I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Means a lot.
This is Lakshmi. So as you said, the Python is used for different applications. Like let us take an example, as you mentioned, like web design and data analysis and some other applications that we are going to build on the Python platform.
Right.
So are we going to focus at a particular application like web design, or particular application like data analysis kind of thing? So what are we focusing? Is it a general Python, or some kind of focused area where we are mostly concentrating on?
Very good question, Kumar. So, as I told you, uh, the libraries that we have at our disposal, example pandas, these libraries are functions, methodologies, modules that help us to work on the data, whether you it's an Excel data or something. So it basically gives us the understanding about how do I work with, or how do I perform various operations with the data. But if you want to use that libraries, if you want to import that libraries per se, if you want to just, you know, do something with that libraries, you would have to have a fundamental knowledge about Python as such, right? So first part would be covering the fundamental of Python. So no matter which library you are going to use, that will help, right? So the fundamentals of the language will be the first area. So once we learn the fundamentals, the next part would be focusing on data analysis with Python. So we are going to use pandas extensively, and then we are going to see how we are going to do data analysis with Python. I would say 80-20 ratio. So 80% of the time we are going to see the foundational Python course. We are going to look at the concepts of programming, and then 20% we are going to see the analysis. I think that will be very much enough for the course. So it is mostly targeted toward data analysis. But if
Okay,
the
sir.
students, if the students
So,
request,
sorry.
yeah, please tell me.
Yeah, suppose let us take an example, web designing. So I know a bit of HTML. So how it works and how we can simply build a website, that I know basic understanding of that. And there is some other programming language, and some of maybe some platforms where we can develop website like .NET, maybe Java, Maybe Python is also we can build a website, I think. Yes, am I right?
Yep, that's right. Python cannot build a website. So
Okay.
Python is used for full stack development. So full stack, there are two components for full stack. You have your front end and back end, right? So all the technologies that you have know is HTML, CSS. So it's front end. So it's about the visual aspect of the web page. And the back end is actually the computer that is working, that is sending the data to your front end. You click on a web page, you get a list of products. That is the back end that is pushing all the information to the front end. So in the back end, to program that level of application, you use Python. So if you are looking at Python for full stack development, of course, I mean, I told you 80% of Python that we are going to see, it will help you to, uh, you know, understand these things. But again, to understand full stack development, to understand web development, the use of Python for web development, you have to have a good understanding about not only HTML, CSS, you have to have a good understanding about network, API calls, sockets, etc. So it is a wholesome, and you have to have an understanding about databases as well for developing a web application as such, right? So there is a there's a library for web development also that is called Flask. Okay, that's called Flask. Like we have pandas for data analysis, we have Flask for web development, small scale web application development. Probably, if the audience want few sessions, or one to couple of sessions on an introduction to Flask for web development, I'll be happy to extend that as well.
Okay, sir. So by comparing all these things and all the products which are available in the market and all the
Mhm.
platforms, so what is the stronger area for Python? Suppose if we learn Python, what are the other possible areas we can explore or integration with some other applications? So how can we begin? How can we prepare our career by making Python as a platform? I think this is actually a very important question for me.
Exactly, great. So before that, I would like to ask another question to you. How are you are looking for a complete domain switch, or are you looking to add something to your resume? Are you looking for a when I say
No.
complete
It's a
domain switch?
complete switch because I'm an engineering. I'm a engineering guy. I just want to go into that area because wherever I am working is like it's a manufacturing kind of thing. So I just want to explore completely in the IT field. I just want to away from this manufacturing.
Okay, okay. In that case, you have all the options sitting equally for you. Okay, to be honest. So you have web development, backend development, front like full stack development. You have, so that option is like available for you. You can completely jump into that. That is a total. It's not only Python actually. I told you, right? So for a web, so you have to become a full stack developer, you should have an understanding about web development. You should know HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and then you should know something about backend development also. So in that, you have Python database management, that is SQL, MySQL, Microsoft SQL, etc. And then you have what you say, uh, you have um, uh, the libraries, React, Node, etc. So that area is there, and then Python will be a component inside the whole domain. So Python is not going to be a sole language when you are looking at full stack development. So you're switching a career to become a full stack developer, then you in the interviews, this is what you will be expected to have, everything from start to begin. So it's not like you have just a Python programming language and then don't have knowledge on database management, right? Imagine you are building a web application. In the web application, what do? You get that data from a database on stored in a table, and then you push that data onto a web server. Say you are building an application to display results of students, right? You build the front end with HTML, etc., etc. Do you beautify it, put the logo of the college, etc., etc. And then in the back end, you have a database where this results are actually stored. You should retrieve the data from that database using SQL, process the data using the programming language that you use, and send that data onto the web page. So without having a knowledge about database management, you will not able to extract the data. So a company will expect you to have end to end, right? So that is about website development. Next, data science. So in data science, it is also from scratch. You have to you have to start from scratch. You have to have a very good understanding about the data and the domain of data. We are having various tools for data analytics, data visualization, and data prediction. That is machine learning. So it starts from analysis. You have SQL here also. You would like to have Excel, SQL, visualization, Power BI, MySQL Server, and then Python can also be a add on to that. And then you have same for machine learning. So machine learning, it's more mathematics actually. So it's more of statistics and mathematics, and so much of knowledge is required in that area. So every programming language like Python is used everywhere to achieve all these tasks, right? So it's about the area. For example, if you are going into data science, you would be expected to have a good knowledge about on statistics and mathematics. So if you're going to machine learning, you would be expected to have a lot of knowledge on data structures, graphs, neural networks, etc. So where all these things are programmed in Python. Is it the only place? No, it can be programmed in R also. Right. So the domains, since you are doing planning for a career switch, you have all these domains clear, open, wide open. Right. So it is up to you which you should choose. And trust me, you look around, everything is interconnected, right? So if you are going for web development, full stack development, you have full stack development very popular these days, right? So the applications, the building applications, maintenance of the applications is there. Data science is not far behind. It's also there in the forefront. So that option is also there for you. So machine learning, data science, full stack development. So it's equal list. So we can't really point out to one and choose this one, but the list is equal. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, sir. The last question, which is still it is unanswered, is like, what is a strong area of Python?
Everything. Python is used by NASA. Okay. So it is exclusively, if you ask, Python will beat all the languages when it comes to machine learning. Okay. So in machine learning, there is no other languages that can compete Python. So if I want to really answer your question in that angle, so I would say machine learning is a strong area for Python.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, one doubt.
Please, Sarthak.
Sir, which version of laptop will you suggest, sir? I mean, which version of Windows for problem solving or performing for functions of Python?
It would not be a very big configuration, Sarthak. You can go for anything above i5 11 generation. That will be enough. With a RAM, I would say 8 GB would be fine. But if you have 16, that will be great. So 16 GB RAM and your solid state hard drive, that is SDD, probably with an i5 or i7 generation processor. That will be good. Right. You can go for any laptop. I use a Lenovo gaming laptop for my activities with a graphic card, i7 processor. And there are other laptops also out there. You can explore many. Right.
Yes, sir. I do use the Lenovo, but it's just 8 GB RAM.
8 GB RAM would be fine for you now at the moment. 8 GB RAM would be fine. Yeah, I think that would be seamless. Yeah.
Okay, sir. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, could you tell us about the duration of the course?
The course duration would be around 35 to 40 hours, right? And 35 to 40 hours is the actual duration of the course. And this is going to be a weekend batch with each weekend with 4 hours. So Saturday for 2 hours and Sunday 2 hours. So depending on the span, etc., we'll adjust 40 hours according to the session. So 1 2 hours plus minus will happen depending upon the learning and depending upon the course. But overall, it's going to be within that range.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Any questions, anyone?
No, sir.
Any
Thank you.
any feedback? Any feedback you have regarding that session?
Sir, how will it be in IT field, sir? How helpful Python would be in IT field?
It will be very helpful. Okay, so just you can start off by learning Python, Sarthak. So be rest assured, it is very popular in the IT domain. Again, you have to choose which domain you have to go for inside IT. So I just listed out the various domains, right? So with this programming language, you have to choose which domain you have to step into, right? Then that will be useful. Okay, clear?
Fine, sir.
All right. I hope that's all. Anyone has to add anything? All good?
All good.
All good. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining this session, and thank you so much for your questions. If you have any questions, I think there's a group. You can add more questions inside that group. Probably someone from the Excelytics team also would be great. The front end team would be great to help you out. And that's all from my end. Looking forward for extending this training to you all. Happy weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.